Envy, often silent and disguised, can be one of the greatest obstacles on your spiritual journey. Have you ever wondered why some people simply cannot rejoice in your progress? Perhaps you've noticed suspicious glances or remarks that seem to downplay your achievements. What's most intriguing is that, even when you've done nothing to provoke it, the mere fact of shining can stir discomfort and negativity in those around you. And the truth is, the more you grow, the more evident this becomes. Yet, what few understand is that envy isn't merely about others, it's about how you choose to respond to it. You may be striving to advance spiritually, seeking peace and balance, but there are always those who try to drag you down with criticism, a lack of acknowledgement, or even manipulative behavior. Does this sound familiar? The emotional toll of such situations can be profound, but there is a way to free yourself from this toxic energy and continue your journey with steadfast calm. The solution isn't to engage in conflicts, but to learn to recognize these signs, strengthen your resilience, and respond with wisdom and compassion. In this discussion, we'll delve into the behaviors that reveal envy in relationships, and more importantly, how you can shield yourself from this negativity without losing your inner peace. If this resonates with you, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel, because together we'll uncover ways to navigate this energy and remain focused on what truly matters, your spiritual growth. It is fascinating to observe how, in many relationships, certain attitudes go unnoticed, yet speak volumes about the emotional dynamics between people. When someone ignores or downplays your achievements, it may be a clear indication that envy is at play. The envious person subtly attempts to diminish your victories, acting as if they hold little significance. Imagine, for instance, the moment you share an exciting piece of news, like a promotion at work, only to receive a lukewarm response. "Oh, that's nice." This kind of reaction might seem harmless at first glance, but it betrays an effort to dim your light so that they feel less threatened. What's intriguing is that this behavior is rarely isolated. The act of ignoring or undervaluing doesn't only happen when you share something positive. It often manifests in small, everyday gestures. It might be the silence on social media when you post something you're proud of, or the absence from key events in your life. These subtle signs accumulate, creating a pattern that, if unnoticed, can begin to erode your self-esteem and sense of worth. It's as though the person seeks to constantly remind you that, no matter how far you go, in their eyes, you'll never be good enough. The challenge, of course, is that this behavior is often difficult to confront head-on. How can you accuse someone of ignoring your achievements without coming across as defensive or paranoid? The key lies in recognizing these patterns and, rather than seeking external validation, learning to value yourself from within. This doesn't mean cutting ties completely, but rather redefining how much influence these behaviors have on your emotional state. And naturally, you can begin this journey by sharing your insights and encouraging others to recognize these signals as well. Often, the people who pay the most attention to your life are those who never comment on it. It seems contradictory, but this silent observation is a common behavior among those harboring envy. They monitor your steps, your achievements, and even your mistakes, all from a distance. A classic example is the friend who rarely engages with your social media posts, yet always seems to be aware of what's happening in your life. This happens because, in many cases, envy drives the person to feel a need for control, watching your progress without making their presence known. This behavior can also manifest more overtly, through subtle inquiries about your projects or personal life, not to celebrate your progress, but to gauge how close you are to surpassing them. It's a form of constant, yet hidden comparison, where the envious individual seeks comfort in the belief that they still hold an edge, even if only in their perception. This can create a discomforting sensation, as you feel watched and evaluated without ever understanding the true reason behind it. The best way to handle such a situation is not to engage in suspicion or paranoia, but to maintain clear priorities and transparent actions, remaining unshaken. When you sense you are being secretly monitored, the most powerful response is to keep moving forward. After all, the goal isn't to hide but to continue pursuing your path, confident that no matter how closely they follow your journey, only you have control over where it leads. Envy can also manifest in more manipulative ways, when someone tries to control your decisions and actions. This often stems from a fear of losing the position they hold in your life. A typical example is the friend who, under the guise of helping you, ends up trying to steer your choices, whether in your personal relationships or professional achievements. They may appear supportive and present, but beneath that lies the desire to keep you in a position that doesn't threaten their comfort zone. This excessive attachment can subtly appear through advice that seems harmless at first, but always nudges you towards decisions that do not promote your growth. It's the kind of friend who says, "I don't think it's the right time for you to change jobs. Maybe you should wait a bit longer." Though their words may seem caring, in truth, they are trying to prevent you from reaching something they themselves lack. It is manipulation disguised as concern. Dealing with this situation requires a clear sense of self-confidence. It's essential to filter the intentions behind the advice and recommendations you receive, always questioning whether they truly align with your best interests or are designed to keep you stagnant. The best way to break this cycle is to reaffirm your goals and make decisions based on what genuinely helps you grow. After all, a true friend will support your advancement, even if that means you surpass what they have achieved. One of the most frustrating signs of envy is the lack of acknowledgement. The envious person simply cannot celebrate your successes, even when they are undeniably evident. You might have reached an important milestone, graduating with honors or landing a major project, but to the envious individual, all of this will be dismissed as ordinary, unimportant. This behavior creates a cycle of devaluation, where the person around you does everything possible not to give your effort the credit it deserves. It's not that they don't see what you've accomplished, they see it, and that's precisely why they prefer to remain silent on the matter. Imagine, for instance, that after months of hard work, you finally achieve a promotion, only to be met with a dismissive remark like, "Oh, but that was just luck, wasn't it?" This kind of attitude is corrosive, as it not only belittles your accomplishments, but also seeks to plant a seed of doubt in your own mind. This cycle of unacknowledged effort creates an emotional barrier that can be difficult to overcome if you aren't vigilant about these dynamics. The healthiest way to deal with this lack of recognition is to surround yourself with people who genuinely value your efforts and achievements. Additionally, learn to celebrate your victories independently of what others think. The most powerful form of recognition is the one that comes from within, for it gives you the confidence to keep moving forward. You don't need external validation to continue your journey. The true acknowledgement is the one you give yourself every single day. The belittling of success is one of the most frequent behaviors exhibited by those who feel envious. When you achieve something remarkable, the envious individual is quick to claim that your success was simply a matter of luck or external circumstances, downplaying your effort and capability. It's the kind of person who, upon hearing about your achievements, responds with phrases like, "Well, anyone could have done that if they were in the right place at the right time." This attitude not only diminishes what you've accomplished but also casts a shadow over your competence and dedication. This belittlement is often accompanied by comparisons designed to divert attention away from your merits. The person might cite someone else's success, suggesting that yours pales in comparison. For instance, upon hearing about your promotion, instead of celebrating with you, they might mention the success of someone more well-known, subtly trying to dim your light. This creates an environment where your achievements never seem enough, and the envious person's insecurity pushes them to use these tactics to devalue your progress. To protect yourself from this behavior, it's crucial to recognize that your success does not need validation from anyone. The value of your accomplishments lies in the effort you've invested and the growth they've fostered within you, regardless of what others may say. Avoid the trap of trying to prove otherwise or seeking approval from those who can't see your worth. Keep moving forward, knowing that the most important recognition is the one you give yourself. And remember, those who criticize superficially often reveal more about their own insecurities than about your accomplishments. One of the most painful signs of envy is when an envious person seems to take pleasure in your mistakes or setbacks. This becomes evident when you face a challenge or make a misstep, and instead of receiving support, the envious individual seizes the opportunity to highlight your failure. It's the type of person who, rather than offering encouragement during a vulnerable moment, responds with a tone of satisfaction, as if your mistakes provide relief to the discomfort they feel in the face of your success. Phrases like, "I knew that was going to happen," or "It was only a matter of time before you made that mistake," are common in this behavior. Though subtle, this attitude can have a profound emotional impact. The disguised joy of the envious person in your difficulties is revealed through small reactions, such as satisfied glances or barely concealed comments that betray hidden delight in your momentary failure. What's curious is that, often, the mistakes they emphasize are perfectly normal on the path to growth. We all make errors, but for the envious, these missteps are seen as justifications to diminish everything you've achieved so far. The most effective way to handle this kind of behavior is to understand that mistakes are part of the journey, and they offer valuable opportunities for learning. Instead of being shaken by those who revel in your missteps, focus on how these moments teach you to be more resilient and better prepared for the future. A mistake is not the end, but rather an essential part of the path to success. Use these experiences to grow even further, and above all, surround yourself with people who genuinely root for your progress, even during challenging times. Envy can also disguise itself within superficial friendships, those relationships where everything seems fine on the surface, but the moment you taste success, the person pulls away. Instead of celebrating your victories, these friends choose distance, avoiding contact to avoid confronting their own feelings of inadequacy. Perhaps you've noticed that when you're going through tough times, these people are always around, but strangely, they disappear when things start going well for you. It's a friendship that only exists as long as you're in a position that doesn't threaten their ego. These friendships are based on an uneven exchange, where support is present only as long as you don't shine too brightly. Imagine that longtime colleague who has always been your confidant, but suddenly begins making excuses to avoid joining in your celebrations. This happens because, for some, your success becomes an uncomfortable mirror reflecting what they believe they should be achieving, but aren't. The experience of dealing with such superficial friendships can make you question the value of your achievements, as their withdrawal often brings with it a feeling that you've done something wrong by succeeding. The solution is to cultivate friendships built on authenticity and reciprocity, where the joy of one's success is shared sincerely. True friends will be there not only in the difficult moments but also during your greatest triumphs, celebrating with you and encouraging you to go even further. Such relationships are rare, but they are the ones that truly matter. By recognizing superficial friendships, you can choose to focus your energy on those who genuinely value your growth, without allowing the insecurities of others to limit your progress. Constant criticism is one of the most commonly used weapons by envious individuals to undermine your confidence. Instead of offering constructive feedback, these people focus on pointing out your flaws, exaggerating any mistakes you might make. The envious person is always ready to question your choices, your decisions, and even your simplest ideas. The motivation behind this is clear. By casting doubt on your abilities, they aim to weaken your self-esteem and create an environment where you constantly feel as though you're doing something wrong. At its core, this relentless criticism reflects their inability to cope with your growth. This behavior often manifests subtly, with seemingly innocent comments that, over time, begin to wear you down. Phrases like, "I don't think that's going to work," or "You should have done it differently," are said frequently, even when what you're doing is positive and already yielding good results. It's as if, for the envious person, nothing is ever enough. They are always looking for a way to diminish your value, and this can lead you to question your own decisions. If you're not careful, you might start doubting your own path, which is exactly what these individuals are hoping for. To deal with constant criticism, it is crucial to emotionally distance yourself from such remarks. Constructive feedback is always welcome, of course, but you must recognize when the words stem from insecurity and envy, rather than from a genuine desire to see you improve. Once you discern this difference, you can continue on your path without being swayed. Build an internal fortress of confidence and surround yourself with those who challenge you in positive ways, encouraging your growth, rather than those who only wish to hold you back. In some cases, envy manifests irrationally and inexplicably as an unwarranted aversion. You may have noticed how some people simply dislike you, without any apparent reason. It could be someone with whom you barely interact, yet they display a subtle, or, at times, not so subtle, animosity. This behavior arises from their inability to cope with their own insecurities in relation to what you represent. Your success, confidence, Or even your mere presence can be a reminder of what they wish they had or could be, but have not yet achieved. This kind of aversion often surfaces as minor disparaging comments, suspicious glances, or a persistently cold demeanor. It's the classic scenario where, despite having done nothing wrong, the person exhibits a distant or, in extreme cases, hostile attitude. Often, these individuals can't even admit to themselves that what they feel is envy. Instead, they rationalize their antipathy with trivial or fabricated reasons, making interactions with them draining and unnecessarily complicated. This behavior can cause discomfort, as no one likes to be the target of unwarranted disdain. The best way to handle this unjustified aversion is to stay true to your values and not attempt to please everyone. It's not always possible to change how others perceive you, and trying to do so will only heighten feelings of frustration. The focus should be on continuing your path with integrity, surrounding yourself with people who appreciate who you truly are. The aversion these individuals feel is not a reflection of who you are, but of who they believe they cannot be. This is something beyond your control, and that's okay. When it comes to dealing with envious individuals on your spiritual journey, the wisest choice is often to ignore and avoid conflict. The energy lost in confronting such people can be incredibly damaging, both to your well-being and to your personal growth. The envious, when challenged, tend to amplify their negativity, creating a cycle of hostility that directly undermines your inner peace. A classic example is that acquaintance who, when faced with confrontation, begins to distort the facts, further fueling the conflict with no intention of resolving it. It's like feeding a fire that never burns out. In situations like these, the best course of action is to remain focused on what truly matters, your spiritual and emotional development. Conflicts only drain your energy and distract you from your goals and purpose. By distancing yourself from unnecessary arguments and confrontations, you're not avoiding the problem, but rather choosing to preserve your balance. One of the greatest secrets to maintaining inner peace is knowing when not to react, allowing the actions and words of others to pass through you without impact. This ability to ignore is one of the most powerful tools for those seeking harmony and growth. Of course, this doesn't mean allowing others to disrespect you or overstep your boundaries. The key is to wisely choose which battles are worth fighting. Not every negative comment or malicious behavior deserves your attention. Instead of wasting energy trying to change the envious person's opinion or behavior, use that energy to keep moving forward, staying focused on higher goals. Inner peace is far more valuable than winning an argument or proving a point. In the face of envy and the challenges that arise in relationships, one of the most powerful decisions you can make is to redirect your attention toward your spiritual growth. Spiritual growth is a deeply personal journey, and by focusing on it, you naturally distance yourself from the negative energy that tries to pull you down. Rather than spending time and effort worrying about others' opinions and criticisms, invest in practices that strengthen your spirit, such as meditation, reading sacred texts, or personal reflection. These activities not only nourish your soul but also help you build an emotional shield against envy and external negativity. This choice to pursue spiritual growth also requires a reassessment of your priorities. What truly matters? What are you striving to achieve on this journey? By focusing on your internal development, external distractions, such as envious attitudes, begin to lose the power they once had over you. It's like choosing to concentrate on the road ahead instead of getting caught up with the obstacles others place in your way. With each step you take toward your higher purpose, the negativity of others becomes increasingly insignificant. To apply this in daily life, it's important to carve out moments for introspection and self-care. Invest in activities that nourish your soul, perhaps reading something inspiring, like The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, or simply taking time to be still in nature. By practicing this habit regularly, you will find that your inner strength grows, and with it, your resilience in the face of adversity. Focusing on your spiritual growth not only keeps you on the right path but also disarms those who seek to derail you with their insecurities. Maintaining positivity and practicing compassion are two powerful tools for handling envy on your spiritual journey. By rising above the negativity that often accompanies envious behavior, you create a protective barrier that not only preserves your inner peace but also transforms how you interact with the world. Instead of retaliating with resentment or anger, Responding with compassion helps break the cycle of negative energy. Imagine how, rather than reacting to a disparaging comment, you could simply reply with a smile or a gesture of kindness. This not only disarms the envious person but also strengthens your own growth. Practicing compassion doesn't mean accepting toxic behavior. It means understanding that envy often stems from deep insecurities and personal suffering. When you look at the envious person with empathy, recognizing that they are struggling with their own frustrations, you become less affected by their actions. This is especially important in relationships you cannot easily avoid, such as with family members or colleagues. Compassion acts as a bridge, allowing you to maintain your well-being without being pulled into the negative vibrations around you. Moreover, when practiced genuinely, positivity is contagious. By choosing to see the good in situations and people, you create an atmosphere of spiritual elevation around you. Small gestures, like expressing gratitude for good moments or reinforcing constructive thoughts, can completely shift the dynamics of your relationships. This allows you to stay centered and focused on what truly matters, your spiritual and emotional growth, even in the presence of envy. Throughout the spiritual journey, it's not uncommon to encounter people who express an unfounded hatred. This unjustified animosity often arises when you begin to stand out or manifest your unique qualities, and these individuals perceive it as a threat to the status quo. It's as though, by shining more brightly, you illuminate the shadows of their insecurities. Unfortunately, instead of inspiring admiration, this radiance often stirs feelings of envy and resentment. Those who, for whatever reason, cannot reconcile with their own limitations transfer this frustration onto you, becoming hostile without clear reason. This type of hatred is particularly difficult to deal with because it isn't based on anything you've done, but rather on what you represent. It's common to hear stories of successful people, in various areas of life, who attract this kind of hostility simply for being who they are. This can happen, for instance, in the workplace, where a colleague feels that your success threatens their position, or even in social circles, where your personal or spiritual achievements unsettle those who aren't on the same level of growth. The most frustrating part is that, being unjustified, it's often hard to understand where this feeling comes from. The answer to this kind of behavior is to remain steadfast in your truth and purpose. It's not your job to change these people's perceptions, nor should you let their feelings affect you. Unjustified hatred actually says much more about the one who feels it than about the one who receives it. Stay focused on your path, remembering that those chosen for something greater often face opposition from those who don't comprehend the depth of their mission. The key is to not get entangled in this energy, staying at peace with who you are and the positive impact you are creating around you. Self-awareness and resilience are fundamental pillars for anyone facing envy on the spiritual journey. Deeply knowing yourself allows you to quickly recognize the negative emotions that arise around you, and more importantly, it prevents those emotions from influencing your state of mind. When you are aware of your strengths, qualities, and even your vulnerabilities, it becomes much harder for others' envious behavior to shake your confidence. For example, if you understand the value of your accomplishments, no disparaging remark will have the power to diminish your self-esteem. Resilience, in turn, is what keeps you grounded in the face of the inevitable challenges that arise on this journey. As you progress in your spiritual growth, you become a stronger person, able to withstand difficult moments without losing your emotional balance. This doesn't mean you won't feel the impact of others' negative attitudes, but rather that you learn to recover quickly. Each challenge becomes an opportunity to strengthen your capacity to handle adversity. Think of it as building a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger it gets. Moreover, self-awareness and resilience together create a solid foundation for building healthy, lasting relationships. When you know who you are and are resilient enough to navigate life's ups and downs, you attract people who share similar values. At the same time, it becomes easier to distance yourself from those whose energy doesn't contribute to your growth. Ultimately, this combination of self-awareness and resilience protects you, allowing you to follow your spiritual journey with confidence and security, without being sidetracked by others' envy or negativity. To conclude this journey on envy and spirituality, compassion and empathy are the keys to transforming how we deal with the challenges that arise. Understanding that envy often stems from the pain and insecurity of others places us in a position of greater awareness and balance. Empathy allows us to see beyond superficial actions and perceive people's inner motivations, recognizing that in most cases, envy isn't a personal attack but rather an expression of the other person's frustrations and struggles. With this understanding, you can approach these situations more calmly, without reacting defensively. Compassion, on the other hand, allows us to go beyond empathy and act with kindness, even when we are the target of negative behavior. By choosing to respond with compassion, you elevate the environment around you, creating an atmosphere of peace where negativity finds little room to thrive. This doesn't mean you should tolerate toxic behavior or allow others to cross your boundaries, but by practicing compassion, you free yourself from the emotional weight these interactions can bring. Instead of holding on to hurt or resentment, you choose a response that strengthens your own inner peace. This approach also positively impacts your relationships and spiritual journey. When you act with compassion and empathy, both for yourself and for others, you make space for deeper, more genuine connections. Negativity loses its grip, and relationships become more centered on mutual support and growth. Over time, this attitude creates a positive cycle, where your interactions are guided by understanding and kindness, allowing you to continue your spiritual journey without carrying the burdens of bitterness or distrust. This is the true liberation from the weight that envy can impose. Now that you understand how envy can manifest in relationships and the impact it can have on your spiritual journey, the next step is to put this knowledge into practice. How will you respond the next time someone tries to minimize your achievements or takes pleasure in your mistakes? The power lies in your hands to choose how you will handle these situations. Will you allow envy to affect you, or will you use empathy and compassion to rise above it? By recognizing these signs and strengthening your resilience, you begin to protect yourself emotionally, keeping your focus on what truly matters, your growth and spiritual well-being. Think about all the times you've dimmed your light to avoid unsettling others. Isn't it time to change that? What's holding you back from moving forward, knowing that some people may wish for your failure? Life is too short to live in the shadow of others' insecurities. Choose to live fully, knowing that your success doesn't depend on external validation. How can you start doing that today? Small shifts in how you respond to challenges can completely transform your journey. If you feel ready to continue on this path of growth and wisdom, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Together, we'll keep exploring ways to face these challenges and stay focused on what truly matters. Remember, spiritual growth is a journey that few are willing to embark on, but those who commit to it find true peace and inner freedom.